So, what are three things that I remember about going through an acquisition? It's been a while, but two of the acquisitions that were the most recent were Exit Event back in 2013. That was completely self-founded, self-funded, and acquired by Capital Broadcasting, who also runs American Underground. The second was Automated Insights. That's obviously the bigger one. That's me, Robbie Allen, Scott Frederick, a few other people involved in that. That was in 2013 acquired by Vista Equity Partners, who is a private equity firm. So, three things I remember. The first is that as they were happening, they happened very much in starts and fits over time. So, there was either absolutely nothing going on and we weren't hearing from the acquirer, or there was a whole bunch of stuff we had to do, including independent projects to prove the validity of our technology, all the way through data dumps, code reviews, things like that. So we'd go for 2 to 3 weeks with absolutely nothing going on, and then thinking that this isn't going to happen, and then like 2 to 3 weeks where we were just working 24/7 to make it happen. One of the things that really taught me, or really I guess reinforced, because I kind of knew this going in, was this is super dangerous. Like, you never want to be focused on an exit, or whether that be an acquisition or anything else, 100% of your time, because it tends to suck your resources, your energy, everything, your focus, everything you're working on to make your business happen. And if you spend too much time uh, either working on the acquisition or thinking about the acquisition, you wind up kind of losing your focus on revenue and keeping your business alive, and that could eventually kill you. I know a couple of startups where that's actually happened to them. The acquirer fell through, they ran out of runway, and they were done. So never put your focus completely on your exit. Um, the second thing, after both of the transition periods, like when we got acquired and became part of that entity, nothing really happened the way I expected it to. Not that that's a bad thing, but it was like every assumption I made about what the acquirer would want to capitalize on was not the thing that they wanted to capitalize on. So I had to do a lot of learning and a lot of shifting in how I perceived things. And it was hard because, like, I was in charge. Like, this was stuff that was in my purview, my domain, and all of a sudden it wasn't. And I know, like, you have to expect that. That's kind of the deal you sign. But when you're actually living it, it's a little bit of a different thing. So I had to make all these changes, and as it turns out, the ones with Automated Insights, after almost 3 years, it was like, you know what, the gap is just way too wide. It's time for me to go. And that was right after Robbie left, so it was kind of, the writing was kind of on the wall for both of us, and we chose to step aside. I stuck around for a year as an advisor, but then basically left the day to day after about 3 years. And then the third thing I remember about being acquired is, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about like the immense feeling of pride watching these things grow outside of my purview with additional resources. I remember walking through American Underground and seeing all the signs for Exit Event that were like professionally done. And I'd never spent a dime on marketing or graphic design or anything like that. It was really, really ugly. But ugly was how we rolled, and then to see it like professionally done, I think was a really nice feeling. And then with Automated Insights, we hired like crazy. We took on completely new types of business and new customers, and watching that grow and expand was also pretty rewarding. Second question: if there's a pause in local angel and venture funding, could this be a 3 month, 6 month, 12 month, or 18 month pause? And specifically relating to North Carolina. So, Angel and Venture have always run a kind of little different path here, right? Um, I think there's definitely going to be a pause. There's a pause already, and we're already feeling that. But I think that pause will be kind of V shaped. But that doesn't necessarily mean that money's going to flow freely here again. I think there was never easy money for startups in North Carolina from a VC perspective, or even an angel perspective for that matter. We're definitely revenue first, customer first kind of area. And so I think as that VC and angel money goes to existing portfolio clients, that new money is going to be hard to come by. But then when it kind of recovers, we'll see it dip. We'll feel it recover kind of quickly. But I think it's going to flatline again. And by flatline, I mean, I think things in North Carolina are going to look kind of like they were pre 2010 when it was really, really difficult to raise money here. So I think it's maybe 6 to 12 months to get close to back to where we were in terms of deal flow in North Carolina. But I think it's going to be 2 or 3 years before we start growing at that same pace that we were growing in 2010, that up into the right pace we saw with venture deals, not only within the state, but coming in from out of state. And then question number 3, assume your company brings a complementary product offering to a company that could become a potential competitor. What's a good way to approach an initial conversation? And how do you do that without divulging too much information since they have more resources? Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. I always talk to my competition, and I definitely like seek out and try to make inroads with potential acquirers. And Scott Wingo, the CEO of Spiffy, he does this better than anyone I've ever seen, and I've actually learned a lot from him on this front over the last couple of years. It's not that hard to talk to competitors or potential acquirers or whatever. I talk approach and findings all the time, and I get a lot of valuable information from the competitor or from the acquirer. I'm not really afraid to give up too much information because it would sort of take forever to explain what my intellectual property is or what my secret sauce is. And it takes a lot of time to define what my competitive advantages are. So obviously you don't want to talk about like deal specifics or customer specifics, and you certainly don't want to talk about anything that you wouldn't want to see on the internet later. But strategy's cheap. It's how you execute that strategy that matters. And like I said, that can be really complex, and really hard to emulate. So, like a really simple example, people ask me all the time, like, what's my secret? How do I write 2 posts a week? How do I do all the stuff I do? And it's like, there's no secret. I just get it done. I wake up in an ungodly hour and open my laptop. And if you want to replicate that, go ahead. I think everybody should be doing that, or I should be doing less of it. Maybe that's it. So I would not only say, don't worry about talking to your competitors, talking about to potential acquirers, but by all means, chase it. Learn from them and kind of get a sense of some relationship building while you're doing it, because that's where those things start. It's when you start talking to those competitors that you realize there could be some synergy there, and they'll probably see it before you do. And, more than half the time, they'll probably make that acquisition discussion entry point before you do.